Hello students, in today's video we will study about HIV and AIDS, their symptoms, transmission, prevention and how does HIV multiply in the body, that is the pathogenesis and life cycle of HIV. Now let's first understand what is HIV. HIV is human immunodeficiency virus. Now, as the name suggests, HIV is a virus. It is a virus that infects human body and damages immune system of the body. Now, damage to the immune system of the body reduces immunity of the body and this causes immunodeficiency. So, now because of immunodeficiency, body cannot effectively fight against infections and diseases. Thus, HIV infected person easily catches infections and thus gets diseased. Now, very important, HIV infection causes AIDS. So, AIDS is acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. So, AIDS is not a single disease. AIDS is a syndrome. It is a group of diseases. Now, AIDS is characterized by immunodeficiency, that is extremely weak immunity of the body, and it occurs or it is acquired because of HIV infection. So, HIV is a virus and this virus attacks WBCs. This virus attacks WBCs, it multiplies in the WBCs and it kills them. Now, as we all know, WBC fight against infections and diseases and are responsible for the immunity of the body. Now, this virus attacks CD positive WBCs, that is those white blood cells that possess CD4 protein on their surface. Now, these white blood cells are helper T cells, dendritic cells, macrophages and monocytes. Now, as the virus multiplies in the body, HIV infection progresses, HIV infection increases and thus immunity of the body reduces, immunity of the body declines. Now, as the HIV kills CD4 cells, CD4 cell count progressively reduces. Now, normal CD4 cell count is 500 to 1500 cells per millimeter cube of blood. Now, when CD4 count reduces to less than 200 cells, this extremely weak immune system becomes ineffective to fight infections and diseases. So, now the HIV infected person is at risk for developing life-threatening infections and cancers. So, now a normal cold can develop into pneumonia. Slight cough can develop into tuberculosis. A minor gut infection can cause severe diarrhea. So, HIV infection progressively increases and it causes AIDS. So, this illness is called as the AIDS. So, AIDS is a chronic, potentially life-threatening condition caused by human immunodeficiency virus. So, now I think the difference between HIV and AIDS is clear. HIV is the virus and AIDS is the illness that is caused by the HIV. So, now let's discuss signs and symptoms of HIV and AIDS. Now, the signs and symptoms of HIV depend on the stage of infection. Now, in the first 2 to 4 weeks after infection, flu-like symptoms appear and these are characterized by low-grade fever, then headache, sore throat, fatigue, myalgia, that is muscle pain, arthalgia, that is the joint pain. So, these type of symptoms are seen. Now, HIV kills CD4 white blood cells and CD4 count progressively falls. So, as the CD4 count falls below 500 cells per cubic millimeter of blood, chronic HIV infection causes persistent fever, with profuse, that is excessive sweating at the night. Then lymphadenopathy, that is the swollen lymph nodes due to HIV infection. Then gastrointestinal symptoms like nausea, diarrhea, then loss of appetite, weight loss. Then oropharyngeal symptoms are painful swallowing and mouth ulcers. Then respiratory symptoms include pneumonia, cough, shortness of breath, chest pain. Now, very important, as HIV infection further progresses rapidly, CD count further falls down and it falls to less than 200 cells per millimeter cube of blood. So now the immune system becomes very weak and the immune system is highly compromised. So now the illness is called as AIDS, and symptom of AIDS are also known as AIDS defining condition. So symptoms of AIDS are chronic diarrhea, then recurrent pneumonia, tuberculosis. Then due to lack of immunity, opportunistic infections, they also start growing in the body, like oral candidiasis, that is a fungal infection of mouth, then vaginal yeast infection, then oral hairy leukoplakia, then exacerbations or increased severity of existing diseases like psoriasis, shingles, then Mycobacterium avium complex infections. These all infections and diseases are very common in a patient of AIDS. And further, because of reduced immunity, it can cause liver failure, it can also cause kidney failure, and different development of malignancies or cancers like Kaposi sarcoma. So AIDS is not a single disease, it is a group of diseases, and these life-threatening diseases can lead to death of AIDS patient. So these are the signs and symptoms of HIV and AIDS. Now HIV or AIDS is a communicable disease. Now it can spread from one person to another. So now let's understand how HIV is transmitted. Now HIV is transmitted mainly by three routes: sexual, parenteral and vertical. Now unprotected sexual intercourse with an infected partner accounts for around 75% of HIV or AIDS cases. So HIV or AIDS are primarily transmitted by the sexual route. Now HIV is transmitted from vaginal, then cervical fluid of women, and also HIV is also transmitted by the seminal fluid of the men, and it can be transmitted from male to male, from male to female, and also from female to male. Then parenteral transmission of HIV occurs due to sharing of HIV infected needles, especially during IV drug abuse, then tattoo formation, then use of infected needles, then use of infected blades, razors or syringes. These all can transmit HIV. Then HIV infected blood transfusion is another very important cause. Then use of HIV infected blood products, and transplantation of HIV infected organ, like for example liver, kidney, also transmits HIV from infected person to a healthy person. Now HIV is also transmitted vertically from mother to child during childbirth, and also due to breastfeeding of child by the infected mother. So now, having understood these mode of transmission of HIV, let's understand prevention of HIV. Now very important, engage in safe sex, always use condoms, then use sealed sterile syringes and needles and destroy these syringes and needles after use. Then screen or test the blood for HIV infection before blood transfusion. Then screen or then use sterile blood products. Then screen or test the organ for HIV infection before transplantation. Then another very important thing is this, use antiretroviral therapy, use ART, that is anti-HIV therapy. Now anti-HIV therapy kills the virus and also kills virus infected cells, and thereby this therapy reduces the HIV load in blood. It improves the quality of life, and it also prevents HIV transmission to the healthy partners. So use of ART also prevents progression of HIV infection to AIDS. So this is how HIV can be prevented, HIV infection can be prevented. Now another very important thing to understand here is this, that AIDS does not spread by using public toilets or by handshake or hug, by sharing food, by cough or sneeze, or by mosquito bite. So this is about the transmission and prevention of HIV. Now let's understand pathogenesis of AIDS. So let's study life cycle of HIV. Now look at this chart. It explains life cycle of HIV. Now this is HIV. It is a single stranded RNA virus. Now as you can see here, these are RNA strands. Now this is a WBC. This is a helper T cell. Now this is a CD4 protein on the surface of the T cell. Now HIV binds to CD4 protein. Then HIV envelope fuses with the T cell membrane, and the HIV releases its RNA in the T cell. Now HIV also releases its enzyme reverse transcriptase in the T cell. Now viral enzyme reverse transcriptase converts viral single-stranded RNA into viral double-stranded DNA, which is known as proviral DNA, which is shown here in the red color. Now this proviral DNA, it gets inserted in the DNA of the T cell. Now DNA of the T cell is shown here in the blue color. So DNA of this DNA of the virus fuses with the DNA of T cells. Now this DNA transcribes and it produces viral RNA, namely viral messenger RNA and viral genomic RNA. Now viral messenger RNA further synthesizes viral proteins. Now these proteins are used for the synthesis of HIV envelope, for the synthesis of HIV proteins and enzymes. Whereas genomic RNA, it forms the genetic material of HIV. So by the use of genomic RNA and HIV protein, the single HIV, it multiplies and it produces hundreds and thousands of viruses. So this is how the HIV virus, the HIV, that is a human immunodeficiency virus, multiplies in the host cell. So HIV infection progresses, it progressively increases, and finally it causes AIDS. Now use of antiretroviral therapy prevents progression of HIV infection, and thus it prevents development of AIDS. So this is all about the symptoms, transmission, prevention and pathogenesis of AIDS. If you find the video useful, kindly like, subscribe and share this video. Thanks for watching this video.